Good day, grade 11s. Today we're going to look at economic profits and losses and also how we indicate it on a graph. What I will do with the graph as well, I will do another step-by-step drawing for you tomorrow on how you have to draw the graph for the individual firm to indicate total cost, total revenue, and whether the firm is going to make a profit or a loss. Okay, first of all, an economic profit means a business earns more profit than it would have elsewhere using the same production factors. In other words, the business is earning a higher profit than it would have earned if it was maybe investing in another business. In other words, it was not in the business it is now. Or if they took their money, their capital, they invested into a bank account and the interest they would have earned. All right, so an economic profit means that the business is earning more profit currently in the business it is than it would have earned somewhere else. In this case, average revenue, AR, are greater than average cost, AC. Perfect competitors can make an economic profit in the short run. Okay, this is very important because when we look at our graphs, our different market structures, you need to know what type of profit does my different markets, like the perfect competitor or my imperfect markets, make in the short run or the long run. You'll see at the end of the lesson, once we are done with the imperfect markets, there's also a summary of that in the table. Right, an economic loss. The firm makes a loss when its costs are more than its revenue. In other words, AC, average cost, is more than average revenue, or average revenue is less than average cost. Perfect competitors can make an economic loss in the short run. Okay, so perfect competitors can either make an economic profit or an economic loss in the short run. Okay, the other one that we get is called a normal profit. So it's either economic profit or loss or a normal profit. Okay, normal profit is when the firm's average costs are exactly equal to its average revenue. So therefore, AR, average revenue, will be equals to AC, average cost. The firm's optimum production level. Okay, now before on that graph that I've drawn for you, we talked about the maximization of profit. Okay, that is normally where MC equals MR. So that is my profit maximization point, or the golden rule of production. So that is what we are looking for when we are doing this graph. So they tell us the firm produces Q2 units of computer chips. You will see it now when we go to the graph, because that is where MC equals MR. So the firm will always produce where it can maximize its profit, and that will be when marginal cost, MC, equals marginal revenue, MR. If the firm produces Q1 units, the marginal cost per unit at point E would be less than the marginal revenue per unit at point C, and an opportunity to earn more profit would exist. In other words, the firm can do better. So they will not produce at point E and not produce at point C. They will produce where profit maximization happens, where MC equals MR. So if you look at your two graphs now, okay, the market graph still looks basically the same. It's your demand and supply curve. Wherever they meet, we have equilibrium there in the middle, equilibrium point, and that is known as my market price. And remember, when you draw your graph for the individual firm, we would have extended that line into our individual firm to make it a horizontal line. Why a horizontal line? Because that means my price is fixed. I cannot ask a price higher than the market price, because then I'm going to lose my customers. If I ask a price below the market price, I'm going to get more customers, but I'm going to lose profit. Okay, because the other competitors are going to ask the market price. So that's why it's a horizontal demand curve. So it is fixed, in other words. All right. So here they were talking now about point A and point C. So we need to look where MC equals MR. So there's MR and there goes MC. Where they meet each other is at point A, so meaning producing Q2 units. So in this case, I will produce at point A, not at point C, because at point C, MC is not equals to MR, so I'm not maximizing my profit. Not at point E, and also not at point B, because again, MC is not equals to MR. But at point A, I can see my MC curve is cutting through my MR curve. And that is where they meet each other. So that is basically equilibrium. Okay, if I can put it that way. Meaning my profit maximization point. And that is where the business will then produce, because they're going to maximize the profit at point A. The firm's total revenue. At Q2, the firm's profit equals total revenue minus total cost. So in other words, TR minus TC. So TR is total revenue, TC is total cost. Okay, how do we calculate profit? Profit or loss is calculated by the difference between total revenue minus total cost. To find total revenue, multiply the price P, this is now on your graph, P by the quantity produced. So total revenue is equals to price P times quantity produced. And remember we said we're going to produce at point Q2, because that is where MR equals MC. So on the graph, total revenue is equal to the area of the rectangle bounded by the price and quantity produced, or we can also say by point 0, P, A, Q2. So this rectangle here represents my total revenue for my business. Okay, so if you have to represent it graphically, it is always going to be P times Q. All right, but we have to always use the 4 outer corners as well. My reference points, 0, P, A, Q2. Now in a test or exam, they can always change these. Not P, not 0, but they can change this A and Q2. This can maybe be Q represented in another paper. This can maybe be point E. But what you need to remember is you need to look where MR is equals to MC. In other words, where the two curves cut each other, where they meet each other. And that will be at point A. So this is representing now my total revenue. A firm's total cost. The cost can be found by multiplying the average total cost ATC by the quantity produced. So total cost is average total cost times quantity produced. The ATC curve shows that the average total cost of production Q2 computer chips is at ATC 1. Therefore, TC is equals to ATC 1. ATC stands for average total cost. And that point there means multiply or times Q2. Again, why are we producing at Q2? Because that is where my firm will maximize its profit. So if I have to represent it on a graph, on the graph, the total cost is the rectangular area bounded by, again, 0, ATC 1. Why ATC? Because that is my cost. And where did I get the cost from? From my ATC curve. Okay. When we are in class again, I will show you exactly again if you have to draw this graph again step by step. I am going to show you also step by step how I do it on the paper, draw it on the paper. But for those of you that still doesn't understand, we will go through this again just to revise this again. All right. but it will be the rectangular section 0, ATC1, B, and then Q2. So this is my total cost. And remember, my total revenue was 0, P, A, Q2. So it means that area would have been my total revenue. This area is my total cost. So it means my total revenue is bigger than my total cost. So if my total revenue is more than my total cost, what is my business going to make? Is it going to make a profit or is it going to make a loss? Obviously, it's going to make a profit. Okay. Whenever my cost, if my cost would have been 0 and ATC would have been over there, AQ2, and I would have had 0 and P for price there, my horizontal demand curve there, then I would have made a loss. Okay, and remember, a perfect competitor can make an economic profit or loss in the short run. So the firm's profit, because in this case, it's going to make a profit because my total revenue is bigger than my total cost. The profit of the firm, therefore, will be P times Q2, P times Q2, minus ATC times Q2, because that's the cost, the total cost. On the graph, profit will then be equal to the area that is left over once I subtracted my total revenue minus my total cost. And that will be bounded by ATC1, P, A, B. So this yellow area will represent the profit that the business is making. Why here this section again? Because that is where MC equals MR at point A. Alright, so this section, my business, my perfect competitive firm is going to make an economic profit in the short run. Okay, here's all three graphs on one slide, so you can see nicely again, there's my total revenue. Here's my total cost, and if you compare them now, you can see that your total cost is smaller than your total revenue. So if you were to put this block, this turquoise block, on top of the green one, there would have still been a section of the green one left. And that is where the yellow part comes in, okay, which means my profit, because my total revenue is bigger, is more than my total cost. And what is left over is known as my profit. Okay, so for today, what I want you to do, these three graphs, I want you to copy them for me in your red books, please. Okay, so tomorrow, before I start with the next lesson, I will post a section on how we draw this graph step by step. We do this in grade 12 again, so this is extremely important for you to grasp this concept already. All right, we're also going to do an activity about this. It's going to ask you to indicate total revenue, total cost, and profit. All right, please go over the previous slides. If you are not 100% with me, if you don't understand what do we mean by total revenue, total cost, profit or loss on the graph, okay, but if you follow it step by step, you will be able to do it, okay, believe me. All right, okay. Then in the real world, in reality, the competitive market system is not as efficient as the analysis may suggest. Prices will probably not move directly towards equilibrium point. Those in the market will continually go for the best price from their individual perspectives. Perfect competition is a theoretical market structure that is seldomly fully attained. Guys, so we talk about a perfect market, but there's not actually one business, for example, maize farmers or wheat farmers, that is 100% perfect competitive, okay, because they don't always ask the equilibrium price. This model does help us, though, to understand the influence of competition in the market. Okay, so this is how it will work in the real world. Okay, tomorrow we're going to look at imperfect markets, but before that I'm going to show you step by step again how to draw those three graphs. Okay, but for now, homework for today, please draw those three graphs for me in your red book. Okay, It's also applicable for the examination, so extremely important. Right.